Hello, everybody. We're here on another episode. Hi, Marcus. How are you?
Hi, Amos. I'm fine so far. We are now in the second week of the complete lockdown here in Germany, which means that we cannot go outside in the time of 10 in the evening until 5 in the mornings. This is how we are fighting the virus. So everything is cool here, Amos. Nice that you were asking.
So,
So,
yep.
another week. Another
Another
week.
week.
Let's look who is in chat. Oh, there is Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Our little family is around. Human Love Solidarity. There's Dan McCartney. Yes. Hey, how are you guys? Well, Amos, how was your week?
Well, I'm keeping busy studying neuroscience, backyard horticulture, keeping myself busy, building my raised beds, preparing for doomsday.
All right, but
Not
nothing
necessarily
which.
in that order.
All right, okay, but nothing which would over exceed your expectations of the past week, right? We'll come into this a little bit later. All right. First of all, I would like to say a big thanks to Keith, who was with us last week, and he wrote me a nice email. I'm sorry that I didn't have the time to answer it yet. I actually found it today because it was somehow in your spam folder. I don't know how. Sorry. And I hope you will join us later. Maybe everyone else, who is interested in our video discussion is welcome to join us. And Amos, tell us a little bit more. What do we need?
So we need to be able to, first of all, mute the. You got to mute the YouTube, otherwise you will be hearing it out of sequence a minute after we've spoken to you. So that's important to get your audio straight from Zoom, not from YouTube. Hopefully you have headphones so we don't hear feedback from our voices feeding to your speakers and back into your mic. And basically, uh, we once you enter, you'll be in the waiting room, and we'll let you in at the first opportunity to discuss things with you. So feel free to join us. Those who are watching on Facebook, please be aware all of this, the chat and our and everything's being done through YouTube. So that is currently where our home is. We don't know if that's going to change, but at the moment, that's our main outlet for interaction. And well, we're working on other things, but we'll keep you posted when things change.
All right. Okay. Barbara just tells us that our audio is both a little bit low. I pump it up. I hope it is better now. Please
Okay.
tell us if it is better now, Barbara, and everyone else in chat. Thank you very much. Well, Amos, it was a funny week we had, right? It was interesting things happened in Germany. We'll come to this a bit later. Amos has the first 100 days of Joe Biden in his segment. And well, I was not overwhelmed by the performance of the so-called progressive Democrats, especially with their statements in the in this week. And I'm looking forward to have a nice discussion with Amos about it, because we all know that he has a more strategic approach to this. And honestly, I have a more emotional approach to this. So I'm looking forward to have a nice discussion with him. And I hope that you guys in chat will also be part of this. We'll have an eye on this. All right, Amos.
Yep. Okay.
So, all right, let's start with the first segment, which I called "We Wanted Fighters, and all we got are these lousy bedside carpets." We had this topic a lot of times in the past week, and I'm sorry that that it is again a topic, but I can't help. I don't make those stupid comments, and we have to address this um, because we all, I think, not we all, but I think most of us dedicated a lot of time, and I think a good number of people invested a good part of their money to get those people elected, and well, they were asked what they think about the first 100 days of the Biden government, and it was, in my opinion, it was surprising, and at a certain point, one of those comments were scaring, and it left me speechless, and we will see this a little bit later. Let's start. We have to with the front woman of the squad of the progressive Dems, and let's hear what AOC had to say about this.
One thing that I will say is that I do think that the Biden administration and President Biden has definitely exceeded expectations that progressives had. I'll be frank, I think a lot of us expected a much more conservative administration. And I think that his, not only what has ultimately come out, but the active invitation and willingness and collaboration with progressives in his first 100 days, or almost 100 days, has been very impressive. And so while there are there are areas where there are just plain areas of disagreement, I think that the actual conduct of the administration has absolutely been in good faith, but not just in good faith, but active incorporation of progressive legislation, and also for those of us individually. I can at least say that there has been a lot of openness and willingness and flexibility in incorporating many of our goals, requests, demands, etc. And I think that it has been to the benefit of the.
Yeah, let's cut this here. Well, you heard when she said that Joe Biden exceeded the expectations of the progressives. Honestly, I don't know any progressive thinking person who is of the same opinion. This is ridiculous. Nobody who thinks progressives can share this view. If you see what they did accomplish, which is nearly nothing, they got crumbs from the table. But when it was about the meat on the table, $15 minimum wages, Medicare for all, there was nothing to hear. Let's move forward and let us see what Pramila Jayapal had to say, which was, which made me choose her for the card, because it was ridiculous. Let's please play it, Amos.
Let's move on to President Biden and how he's doing. One of your fellow progressives in the House, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, says that he's exceeded her expectations and expectations for progressives. Do you agree?
I do. I think that this has been a really interesting time for us to see how the progressive movement at large, all the progressive voters, young voters, voters of color that came out and turned out for the president in November, helping us to win the White House, the Senate, and the House, and the pandemic and the way in which it has just really shined such a bright light on all the inequalities that have existed. I think President Biden has risen to the moment, and I really do give him an A in what he's done so far. It's been bold, it's been progressive, it's been what the country needs. He hasn't shied away from it, he has leaned into it, and we're hoping that the same continues to happen as we go through the process to pass the Jobs and Families Plan.
Well, I have no words for this, where she has a big smiling face and she gives him an A, and I don't understand this. If you look at her campaign page, and I did this yesterday, where she was promoting Medicare for all, and this is a quote now. It's time for a healthcare system that is focused on patients, not profits, a system that recognizes healthcare is a right, not a privilege for the wealthy. We must ensure that everyone in our country has comprehensive quality healthcare, no matter their income, race, gender, or zip code. It's time for Medicare for all. And well, if you look at the Wall Street Journal, that they are coming up with that some Democrats should expect disappointments when it comes to the prescription prices for drugs, which was a very, very important part, and it's cut, or it seems to be cut, and and she is. This was one of her most important points she was campaigning with, And if you read the article here, the White House isn't expected to include a measure aimed at lowering the price of prescription drugs in its coming anti-poverty package, according to people familiar with the matter, in an omission likely to disappoint top Democrats on Capitol Hill. Well, okay, people familiar with the matter is always discussable. But it goes on, but disagreements among Democrats about how to use the savings generated by drug pricing negotiations has complicated its path forward. While Democrat leaders like Mrs. Pelosi indicated they want to put the money towards reducing costs for people getting healthcare through ACA, other Democrats have proposed using it to expand eligibility for Medicare. Well, they could not agree where the money goes, and okay, so we cancel all the crap and let's not talk about it anymore. Let's throw it overboard. And Pramila Jayapal is fine with it. She gives an A. And if you're not a progressive thinking person, if you are the average Joe, who is not mostly interested in politics, of course, if you compare it with Trump and the atrocities in his time, of course, Biden has exceeded expectations, but none of the progressives, and the bar was already so low. I'm sorry, how could he not exceed the expectations? But from a progressive point of view, it is bullshit. I remember then when he was campaigning, in every campaign, in every race, the few he had, or on TV, he was clearly saying, it is time for a $15 minimum wage. I don't know how many times he did it. I think it was Jimmy Dore or someone else who did a video out of it in the past days. It goes for minutes, and he's repeating the line $15 minimum wage. It's canceled. And these are the things which would have been progressive, if you give the people the $15 minimum wage, you don't need to bullshit them with crumbs from the table, as Joe Biden did, when he was bragging about the new money is coming for families with children. There he made his example, how much the families would save at that time. I think it was about $2,800, $2,400, about that. If you would give the people a decent minimum wage, the people could decide themselves what to do with it, and they maybe would have got a chance to raise up out of the level they are, when they see they have an opportunity maybe to save money, to lay something back for college and stuff, but you get crumbs, you keep the people still under stress. It is just enough to survive, or hardly to survive, but it's not enough, to get out of this, to get to another standard of living. And you cannot call yourself a progressive and celebrate this, knowing that this means only little for people, while you are not willing for any reasons, I don't know why, to fight for the big things, and We are seeing this, and this was really shocking. We are seeing now Cori Bush, which was on CNN. And her answer gave a deep, deep look inside what's going on with the progressives, in my opinion. Please show the video, Amos.
Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia has essentially, used what seems to be a veto power against a lot of progressive priorities, including some of the ones that you've mentioned. But in the House, Democrats have this 2-seat majority. There are 6 members of the squad, of which you are a part. What's stopping you from flexing that same power for your agenda? You just said you would vote against a compromise on qualified immunity. Are you prepared, and the rest of the squad prepared, to use that kind of veto power that you have if you vote as a bloc?
I'm prepared to do whatever is needed to make sure that that our agenda moves forward. But I can't speak for the rest of the squad members. At the end of the day, my sister Rep. Ayanna Presley says it all the time. You vote alone, and you're voting for your districts. So you're voting for the people.
There you have it. She got the question. She shrugs her shoulders, and she says we are voting alone. So I'm asking myself, where is the communication? Where is any sense of block? We know we are here, and we are asking ourselves, what are those people doing? They were sent with a certain order, if you want so, to achieve. They were campaigning for this, and then after months, and for some after 2 years, you see that nothing happened. There is absolutely no communication, and Cori Bush sits there, seems to be surprised by the question, and says, we are voting alone. I don't know what the others are doing. Are you serious? I think this was the last straw, if you want so. What can we expect from those people? We got another one. We got Jamal Bowman, being on Newsweek. You are one of the 4 Democratic Socialists of America members in the House. Do you coordinate with other members or with the DSA about strategy? And he says, I'm in constant communication with DSA, both from the outside and members from the inside. The one I speak with the most is Congressman Ocasio-Cortez, speaking both formally and informally about policy and advocacy work. He's talking about mainly most Congressman Ocasio-Cortez. Okay, but he has nothing else to say. Some insights. Next question. You are also a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Do you feel the caucus has been successful in pushing Congress and Biden further left? Yes, I do. But it's also a work of the organizers, DSA and Justice Democrats as well. Yes, especially the Justice Democrats. Third one. There have been some calls from DSA activists and other leftists for the Squad and Progressive Caucus to take a harder line, even threatening to withhold votes. Is that something you or other progressives might do? He says, I see it as a strategy, and we collectively decide that we are going to use it, we will definitely use it. As there is no collective, they won't use it. It's simple math. And then we have Ilhan Omar celebrating the crumbs which fell from the table. That's the power of organizing. Let's keep going. I have no words. I have no explanation for this. I don't know if it takes so less time to become a career politician. I don't know. I'm lost with this. And what I'm really concerned is the one person I think I can trust, that she stands for what she says, is Nina Turner. But I'm really afraid that once she get elected, she will follow the same path. And then I don't know who else could be. Then the progressive movement is dead. It is relabeled by the establishment Democrats. And that AOC is so fine and with what's going on, that she says she is in discussions, and there is a lot of teamwork and stuff. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about this, about the strategy of the establishment. They make them feel fine. They're patting their bellies and make them feel comfortable. That is the strategy. They make feel themselves important, being called into committees and stuff, But when it goes about the meat, nothing. Now, Amos, I know that you are waiting for your part.
I see also that Kevin is waiting in the waiting room. I'll let him in
Oh,
a
cool.
minute.
Cool.
But I wanted to weigh in on this. I see it a little bit differently, of course. I don't know if the strategy of praising the administration is the best, although from a behavioral standpoint, we do want to encourage moves to the left, and there's certainly been moves to the left and moves to, like in reconciliation, to the progressives. They don't reach far enough, of course, in our opinion, way short of what the end goals should be. However, there's no denying that there's been movement in the progressive direction that exceeds anything that's been happening in the last few decades since FDR. So it's important to recognize it in order to I mean, if you want to encourage that, you do have to encourage it. Basically, if you start by attacking once they do make certain positions that are progressives, then you lose that goodwill. So at this point of the game, I think the goodwill is the most important, because what Biden is doing is picking off the low-hanging fruit in order to set up his agenda, set up his legacy. And although we're not, I mean, he's short of anything. In every aspect, he's short of what our positions are. If you're looking at the college only 2 free years, forgiveness of debts only in certain situations. Every single thing that he's picked is kind of limited. However, it is in the right direction, and you can't ignore the fact that there is like the bigger picture of where things are in terms of the general population. And if you don't bring along the general population, even if you use up your power, your relative power and influence at this point, it could hurt things in the long run and boomerang. So I think the fact that the majority of the population does support the types of measures that Biden has done, and they're far from socialist, and therefore cannot be criticized as such by Republicans. Is that something that I'm going to cover later on? The frustration of the Republicans is that they cannot paint Biden as a socialist and attack him that manner. That is going in favor of progressives as well, because down the line the public is going to be much more open to wider reforms and changes when they see that what's been done is on the whole progress in the right direction. The other thing I wanted to say regarding the coordination is, yes, I agree that it is not a good idea not to have a strategy, not to have a coalition, even though they have a progressive. They do have a progressive caucus, but not to have a strategy is certainly stupid. You could achieve much more if you do have a strategy. However, you have to remember the other the conservatives in the Democratic Party, Sinema and Manchin, do not have a coalition. However, I'm sure that they coordinate behind the scenes as to what their positions are on each of the bills. They oppose things that are going too far in their advantage. And the same goes to progressive. I mean, they hold the same kind of leverage, even with one or two people out of the crowd of progressives, without having to form a bloc. So let's not forget that it's not the end of the world, but they will need to have a strategy going forwards to when we're done with the low-hanging fruit and we're tackling things where Democrats will have to be pushed to do things that they're not keen on doing, and uncomfortable things that may be a little more questionable to the general, where the public opinion is not yet completely formed or is slightly leaning against certain things. That's where the strategy is going to have to play. So I hope they get their shit together before too long. Let me admit Keith here. Let's see here. Okay. I hope that we have a better connection this time. Keith, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
There's Keith. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I think we got the technical issues worked out this time.
No, it's perfect. You look great. The light is great. Your audio is fine. And wow, cool.
Yeah. And I have things muted.
Yeah. How are you, Keith?
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
I'm fine. Just been a typical week for me.
Which means?
I don't know. But I put a story on my website for people to read. I'm going to write a novel.
All right.
That's how my progressive message is out, sort of.
Okay. Okay.
I'm heavy on the environmental side and so on.
All right. Maybe we can share this. And I said earlier in the program.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the.
Okay. Cool. Wonderful. This is what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the tag. But I won't do it till the end of the show. People are already watching this; they can't be going anywhere else. So I don't want to stick it up there right now.
All right.
Anyway, so good to see you guys.
So did you
hearing you lamenting about our politicians?
Yes, please.
And in fact, I just put something in the chat about politicians that in America we only have one kind. Like AOC, we expect her to be something. But it comes to me that where would she have learned to be anything than what she is? Because a lot of people can say the right things. Bernie was great at saying the right things. He was a little slow in the follow through too. And so it seems to be a kind of a disease, and maybe we should think of her more as a victim than a perpetrator. Just an idea.
Oh, you're right. I see this similar, but I think in Bernie the case is a bit different because Bernie, it showed that Bernie is not a fighter. It's not a puncher, and but the so-called squad or the Justice Democrats guys there, they were campaigning to be as warriors, as fighters for what's important for the people, and this is why. I cannot understand those statements. I know that if you look at it in an objective view, that of course Biden is an improvement to Trump, and of course he exceeded the expectations what this concerns. But as a progressive warrior,
improvement to Trump.
But I'm sorry. in crumbs.
Satan would be an improvement to Trump.
Yes, okay, but from a progressive side, it is ridiculous to come with this, and it is worrying that it seems that there is no communication and no block building, and I don't know. What do you think, Keith?
Well, it's just it's the core of the Democratic Party that's controlling things. It's an established party, and if you get into it, you're absorbed by the machinery of it. So to me, see, I don't personally, I don't see that we need radical change, and I don't see that either party in America has what it takes to do that. Now, some European parties, I think, may. You know far more about that than I do, so you can tell us. But at least you've got some like more. I mean, we've got a Democratic Party that is where the Republican Party was 20 years ago, and our Republican Party is just about where Nazi Germany was like 70 years ago. So or 80 years ago, however long that mess was. But it's in America, the established thing is kind of here to stay until it doesn't work anymore. I'm not seeing that. America's not really wanting change or even desiring it, and I wish it did. I mean, I want something different, but I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah. Thank you for this input. What Europe, or especially Germany, concerns, I don't see a change neither, to be honest. What I'm afraid of, that the only change we would see in Europe would be a radical right-wing change. If you look, for example, to France, if Macron fails, who is a failure itself with his En Marche party, much of criticism about him. If he fails, it's very likely that Front National, Le Pen comes into government, which is the right-wing party there. I don't fear this for Germany because our right-wing party AfD is too weak, and there are too many blockheads and idiots around. Thank God. But it is the same situation might happen in the Netherlands. We see it already happening in Austria. We see it in Poland, in Hungary, and this is my concern. I don't expect. I don't see a progressive movement comparable here in Europe. So don't have too much expectations on Europe.
No, I'm sad to hear that. I mean, I think all of us would like to know that it's happening somewhere, since we all know it's not happening where we are.
Well, with that said, though, and terrible. I'm sure Marco's going to cover that later, that it looks like the Greens are on the way to possibly govern Germany. So I wouldn't be that pessimistic on the other hand either. I think it's a mixed bag, isn't it?
Yes, it is, but it is only a party, and if you see a party has not anymore the power it had decades ago. The law is written by the system, and as long as we are living in a system which is based on capitalism, we cannot do the measures which would be needed to save this planet, because selfish interests, money is in the way, and this is our human nature, and so I'm very, very skeptic that we would see this, at least in our lifetime, a change to this, because in my opinion it is system based. Capitalism is the opponent, the clear opponent to any far leading measures to save the climate, to save the planet. My opinion.
I totally agree. Capitalism puts money in control, and that's it's characteristic of America, and we're just talking about politicians, to get elected to any office that's serious in America, you've got to have the bucks and the backing of one of the major parties. And if without that, you're not going to go get anywhere. And well, what's wrong with that? Well, what's wrong with that is money is making the decisions then.
Exactly.
And money does not care about
And
people.
it is not different in the US. It's not different in Europe. It's not different in China. It's not different anywhere, you know. And that's the problem. And well, that's our human nature. As I always say, you know, we did not learn much from our history for thousands of years, because we are still running in the same strange mechanism, you know, with greed and yeah, and it it is. I know it's naive, you know, but if we would really care for each other, everything would be granted for everyone. It would be enough food everywhere. Food is produced enough. Look at what food waste we have, how much food we are throwing away. There is enough food for everyone, starting with that. And we would need every kind of food in the future, you know, when we see what's coming. And I see a bitter future. And it's strange that that now the video here, while we are talking for technical reasons, is all black. I did not want to be so depressive, but if you see the things, you know, and make the math, you know, well, you don't see much ways how to get out of the situation.
It's difficult. Yeah, you know, you described it as human nature, and I prefer to say culture, because people can be different. And in rare situations, people have been different. You know, small cultures here and there, but you know, because if you say it's our human nature, that means we're never going to change. And
No,
you
we
yourself
won't.
are saying that. Well, but in generations and after enough time goes by, if we survive, let's sing a song, you know, then culture could change. I mean, personally, I've been lucky in my life. I've been had enough to eat for the last, you know, few decades anyway. That all my needs been met. I can afford to be a nice guy. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life have been really rich. They can afford to be very nice.
Yeah.
But there's a point to what I just said, you know, where if you have enough to, if your needs are satisfied, you can start thinking about, you know, what life's mean, especially if you understand that you're going to die. You know, that's really important too. So you put the things together, you know, where your needs are met and you know you're going to die. And when you want to, then, you know, trying to get as much for yourself in the meantime doesn't make a lot of sense.
You know
it's
what?
more like you want to be.
You know what
Yeah,
makes
go
you
ahead.
rich in the end? It's when I think when the end comes near, then you are a rich person if you can look back on all the happy moments you had in your life and not on your bank account or your big house or your big cars and stuff. That's the only thing which counts. You know, my granddad always used to say, you know, the last shirt has no pockets. That's it.
That's good.
You know.
Yeah.
All right. I think we should go over now and leave this dramatic scene, Amos. early on Saturday
Okay.
morning or Saturday noon for you guys in the US. And uh, do you want to add anything, Amos, or do you want to start with
I think we
your
should
100
move
days?
on. Yeah, I think we should move to the next segment.
All right.
Yep. So
talk to you later, Keith. Then.
Will do.
All right. So yeah, we're. I wanted to give a review since everybody's doing a review of the 100 first days of Biden. Of course, the biggest achievement is there was no Trumpsidents. But other than that, there's enough to say about it besides it. So of course, whoever watched it noticed that there's some symbolism in the symbolism in the background, where both women, both women behind him were actually women, as opposed to men. So that was something that was celebrated purely from the symbolic point of view. So that's good optics. The issue here is that, like I said before, Biden has moved in leftward positions and done actually pretty bold things. However, not done not done as much to be labeled as socialist. You cannot look at what he's done so far and say that he's a socialist, and that's a real serious problem for Republicans who are not sure how to eat it. They're afraid to not clap. Here's a cartoon that exemplifies what I'm saying. So the GOP is saying, I can't clap for Joe Biden, but if I don't clap, it'll look like I don't like what's good for America. But I've been good friends with Joe. I'm going to clap. But if I do clap, Trump will primary me. And then Biden says, my fellow Americans, we're on track to get back to normal. And he's, don't clap, do not clap. So that's pretty much, I think, indicative of how Republicans, the pickle they're in. Even in the rebuttal after Biden's presentation, that was kind of a lame follow-up, where the GOP candidate had to basically. You want to read this?
No, but I will. Okay, Senator Tim Scott's rebuttal. I realize my rebuttal makes the GOP look pro-child poverty, pro-racism in our nation's police departments, anti-lifting up of Americans in crisis from the crippling pandemic they've suffered through these past months, and certainly comes across as violently hypocritical after the past 4 years of Republican control. But
so yeah,
crickets are chirping.
That is very, very much where they stand. So
why does he look like why does he look like Alfred Hitchcock?
So basically, I think the issue here is that is exactly that the public supports, even among Republicans, they support these measures on a broad sense. They support the family leave. They support the aid to people on a private basis. They support a lot of these things, and even the critique from Republicans saying how this would exaggerate, like create a debt and so forth, doesn't sound true even to most Republicans, aside from maybe the most hardcore Trumpists that cannot see the irony of it, because Trump was among the administrations that mostly increased our deficit. So turning around and saying now, after they have given out billions of dollars to corporations and to
trillions
to the wealthy in tax credits and so forth, to turn around and say that these are the issues, you should look at this is really blowing up our deficit. It just doesn't sound true. So to anyone who's even mildly observing the events, so they're kind of in a bind, and for that reason they've started to look at different things that I can say that doesn't invoke that kind of thing. So for example, here's Tucker saying election stolen, Biden meat ban, Kamala's book given out at the border, and that's the herd immunity from truth. And I don't know if you've noticed in the news, but Fox News was trying to paint it as if the administration was promoting ban on how much beef you could eat, which is not even like, it was a recommendation by like an independent organization saying that was dealing with climate change, and they were suggesting that in order to curb climate crisis, reductions in meat consumption should happen, but it was nothing to do with policy. The Democratic Party or the administration had nothing to do with it and have not even addressed this. And so this whole bullshit argument was they tried it. I think it fell flat.
We had the same discussion with the meat ban here in Germany a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
When I don't know who it was. It was either from the big coalition we have, the from the SPD, from the Socialist Party, or from the Democrat Party. They were also, the suggestion was to have in the companies, in the canteens, to have one veggie day where they would offer only vegetable stuff. You cannot imagine what broke down on them. The government wants to prevent us from eating meat. They wanna tell us what to do. You cannot imagine what was going on. It was the next day, it was off the table again, right?
Yeah.
It was the same bullshit discussion you are having right now in the US.
But of course, I mean, the whole cancel culture critiques and all of that. It's like they're trying to say something to remain relevant, but they can't attack this administration because it's been careful what it has been doing in order not to be labeled socialist. So there's an advantage to that as well. And I want to point out, I heard Biden say something very astute, actually. He said his observation was that all the successful presidents in the past have their success was due to timing, and I take that as an indication that it's not whatever he's proposing right now is not necessarily the end of all pushes, but it is strategic political approach, and I think that he may surprise us in the future based on that observation. So we'll see. Of course, we have to take everything with skepticism and suspicion, but I take that kind of insight as an interesting point. Here's another cartoon that indicates what's going on, and here Tucker says, after lurking underground for 17 years, is it any surprise they're choosing to invade our neighborhoods now? And that's the Biden cicada crisis.
Yeah.
And also Tucker Carlson, the feds want you to stop consuming partisan red meat. It's funny to see that the cartoons that come out on the conservative sides, and here's one that's presenting Joe Biden's $6 trillion spending caps, and not 6 billion, and the whole thing is bullshit. Make elitists rich again. I mean, I don't think anyone in their right mind can accuse Biden of that with the current policies, although we may think he's not going far enough. Make government daddy again, well, and make America beg again. What the heck are they talking about? But that is the kind of vitriol you see in.
I would buy the Kira cap. Keep elitists rich again.
Well,
because this is the situation we have.
I don't know. I think, I mean, there's been movement towards curtailing some of that, but we'll see where it goes eventually. My American Family Plan is for the children, and you see the record death and the baby carrying that pork belly. And that again, and he's presented here as a communist with the red cap, and that again obviously is a complete misrepresentation of what it. So they're trying. I don't think it's sticking. And here's another one with Donkey emptying Charlie Brown's lemonade jar.
Can we talk a second about the cartoon we just had?
Sure.
Because it's ridiculous, the big pig, exactly this one. It's the same discussion we are having here in Germany. The Socialistic Party is always the party who is seen by conservatives, as those who are throwing the money out of the window, and burden so much debt on the future generations. I want to raise the question: does anyone believe that any country will ever repay the debts? I think it's a giant scam. Nobody ever will pay back those huge amounts of money. It's stupid.
No, and the system is built on that premise that it keeps growing. The economy keeps growing. If it ever rolled back, we would be like Easter Island, would collapse. But the thing is, we don't even have to build to increase the debt. As we know, the debt is just the choosing of the government to borrow money in order to cover printing. Of course, that's just a choice.
And look at the trap. Look at how much money it would need. If there were an honest intention, to put on a real Green New Deal, with every consequence.
Right.
Can you imagine how much money this would be? And the argument would be, no, we cannot save the planet because it would burden too much debt on the shoulders of the future generation.
Of course, it's
fucking
absurd.
crazy.
Of course, it's absurd. The whole thing, and the fact that now they're waking up to the debt while they didn't mind that it was increasing the debt when they were giving out tax cuts to the rich and billions of dollars in aid to companies, banks and companies that did not need it, and made a landfall, a watershed profit on this. So it's obviously it's a complete bullshit argument. But that's where they're trying. But again, we're not. I don't think it's sticking with most Americans. Maybe with some diehard Trumpists, but I don't think they can sell it very well, and that's why they're in a pickle.
Yeah. Let's get Keith into this. Keith, what's your opinion on this? You're muted. You're muted, Keith. Amos, can you unmute, or is Keith? Did he mute himself? I cannot hear you, Amos.
Yeah. Keith,
there you are.
Can you say something?
No, he's muted. I can see this in the icon. His mic is muted.
Keith? Hello, Keith?
I don't know how.
There you are. There you are.
There we go. All right.
Good.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I was don't have a strong opinion on what you're just talking about. Drifted a little bit because I was talking to Jilly Love in the chat.
Yeah.
And we were talking about some news that came out Thursday with Biden, where he the Biden administration wants to ban menthol cigarettes, and so it's.
They are banned in Germany since beginning of this year. You can't get any menthol cigarette. Yes, and to my knowledge, it is because of health reasons. Because it seems there were studies that smokers of menthol cigarettes inhale harder than normal average smokers. I don't know if this is the truth. I don't know. I was never a menthol cigarette smoker, so I didn't care much. But I know for fact it is not available here anymore in Germany.
That's crazy. It's only been around for 50 years. That's I don't smoke them myself. I quit smoking many years ago. I decided I wanted to live a little longer and be a little healthier. So it was a choice, but it was a choice, and I think people should have that choice.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be something that really warrants, to me, government intervention. So
Yeah.
But then
anyway,
again,
so I'm sorry. So I don't have an opinion about the.
No, it's cool.
the
It is
harassment.
nice that you give an insight on what's going on the chat, because this is, it's sometimes very hard to concentrate on what you're saying and have an eye on the chat. And it's great that you are here and have a look on it.
I do have a problem with the idea
Thank you.
that
Well, that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
I do have
Amos,
an
go on.
issue. I do have an issue with the idea that this propaganda that Americans should have the freedom to hurt themselves. So I don't know if that's I mean it sounds
I agree
kind
with
of
that.
wrong to me, and I don't know if
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I find it strange that menthol is suddenly dangerous. How they could
Right.
suddenly find that out as being super dangerous, and maybe it is. Okay, so maybe I have to be enlightened.
No,
But
it's not. It's
also,
not that it's
if you're
suddenly.
making the decision, who's to say what's dangerous and what's not? That's the question. If we can agree on something definitely harmful, don't let a person do it. But who's to make that call? And then it gets into games of power. So and then that makes me chuckle and say, hey, hell, that's funny, menthol cigarettes, haha. So but there's a bigger issue there, and who's exercising the power and why.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. Yeah,
I totally agree that people are not smart enough.
Yeah. You're right.
So
Okay. Well, let's have a look to Germany. And we had the situation that the Friday for Future campaign, the youth activist and other campaigns went to the German High Court because they were not happy with our government and their plans they had to zero the emissions until 2050, which we all know is a date which is out of where everything is already partly underwater. It's much too late. But in the end, the situation in Germany is that the government agreed to the Paris Climate Accord, and following did not much to get it on the way, and they are talking about the politicians from the government. They were talking about, we can take this into more consideration in 2030ish, in those years, and then we can put things on the way, and of course these activists were not happy with these response, and so they went to High Court and sued the government. And it was a surprise that the German High Court ruled in favor of the young activists. There's the article from the New York Times, and it says Germany's High Court ordered the government to expand a 2019 law aimed at bringing the country's carbon emission down to nearly zero by 2050, ruling on Thursday that the legislation did not go far enough to ensure that future generations would be protected. The decision by the country's Federal Constitutional Court came as a rebuke to Chancellor Angela Merkel's government, which drafted the law but only included detailed goals to reduce emissions through 2030. They wanted to buy time. I don't know why. It makes no sense, but they wanted to put it on the long bench, and the article goes on. A quote: the appellants, some of whom are still very young, have had their liberties violated by the challenged provisions. This is the official ruling text. ordering the government to revise the law by the end of next year to clarify and specify targets that reach beyond 2030 to preserve fundamentally liberty. The legislature should have made provisions to mitigate this burden. This is a clear approach, and now you can imagine that our government is a little bit struggling, what to do. I think it is nothing of concern for our current government, because they are leaving in fall, and the next government will come. But I think it's a very strong call from our highest court, and I think not every party would be too happy about this, especially the Conservative Party, would be was flattened out, surprised by this call, by this decision. The article goes on: the law under scrutiny in the court case aimed at meeting Germany's carbon emission The law under scrutiny in the court case aimed at meeting Germany's carbon emission targets under the Paris Agreement, a pact by 189 countries to try to prevent the world's temperature from rising. The German law included a raft of measures, such as a 60 billion spending package, a fee system for carbon emissions, and taxes to make flying more expensive. But the law only stipulated how reductions should be reached over the coming decade. Decisions about how and how much to reduce carbon emissions between 2013 to 2050 were left open to be decided in 2025. And well, this is nothing our activists would deal with. They want to have a concrete answer, in a window which is closing faster and faster. And I know that we are only Germany. We are only, in comparison, a small middle country. We don't have much effect what worldwide happened. But as we are based on the system we are having, we should put everything we have into finding devices to bring clean energy to the people, and to promote this, and to bring it to other countries. There is no other way, and this is why the people were so unhappy with the government's decision, to wait until 2025 and then see where we are and how we go on. And this is exactly the perspective on the things which our market liberal party has, the FDP. They are saying, let's wait and sit it out. We are optimistic that progress will bring the solutions with the time which is coming, and this is pretty naive, and nothing which the activists were satisfied with. And this is why they addressed the court. And it goes on: in their suit, the climate activists had charged that by failing to lay out a long-term strategy with clear targets for reductions through when Germany aims to be carbon neutral, the government was effectively kicking the can down the road and risking the freedom of future generations who would have to live with the consequences. And this is exactly the point, And there was another incident which came out, which was also considered. We here in Germany, especially in the Bavarian part of our country, they are very proud of the mountains, of the glaciers we have. And the latest studies show that it would take maybe 10 years until all glaciers are gone. And this was also a very, very important point, as it seems, for the court to judge and say, no, this is nothing we can accept, And there is one Thorsten Glauber, he's the environment minister in Bavaria. He says the days of Bavaria's glaciers are numbered, earlier than we previously believed. And unless action is taken to speed up Germany's attempt to reach zero emissions, Mr. Glauber says the last alpine glacier in Bavaria could disappear within 10 years. And this would be the clear visible sign for everyone, that we are in the middle of a dramatic change, of a catastrophe. What we would feel with what we are now feeling is with changing temperatures, etc., would be clearly visualized for everyone to see, that the mountains are free of any ice. And I'm quite happy that the court ruled this way, though I'm not so optimistic that it would make any change. We discussed the reason earlier today. But it is at least the courts showed a clear sign to side with the youth activists, and this is at least a good one. All right, shortcuts. Yeah, you want to talk? Yeah, we have to talk about India. Absolutely horrible what's going on there.
Yes, horrible news from India. As you see, the states that were most infected by COVID are the more so the western parts of India, but I don't think you can isolate it. It's going all the way up to the northern border, and though we don't have yet the full picture on Pakistan because of their situation with their healthcare, I think it's going to be even worse. And I've heard like individual stories from Pakistan, and it sounds just as every bit as bad as India. And whoever, if you haven't looked at images from India, they're absolutely they're horrific. There's pyres of bodies that they're burning on in public squares and so forth to get rid of the bodies. They cannot cremate them fast enough, so they're basically piling bodies on top of bodies and burning them. This is how it looks from above. Just look at that.
And they are running out of wood for the pyres also.
Yes, it's to that scale where it's that by itself is becoming an issue. Their hospitals look like this. They're packed. They cannot accept, and those are the lucky people that get admitted, because a lot of in a lot of hospitals people are begging for them to take them in, and they don't, and they die in the parking lots.
And it doesn't, and at least it doesn't matter much if you're in a hospital or at home or in the street, because most of them are lacking already of oxygen.
And that is the other thing. Oxygen is one of the issues. They're just running out of oxygen, and the problem is that a lot of it has to be transported. They're trying to build oxygen generating stations near the hospitals. It's a whole other issue. They're running out of beds. They're running out of. They don't have the medical components to make the vaccine, even though their vaccine system is one of the biggest in the world, but they cannot generate those vaccines because they don't have the raw materials. So that's another issue. And it's just everybody, like the healthcare. They're running out of healthcare workers. They cannot sustain this pace of action. It is absolutely heartbreaking. And this is what the entire world was afraid of in other parts that actually now happened in India. It caught up with them. And for anybody, the government is trying to say that it is not them. There's of course state and local and national governments. It is clearly, though, the fact that the national government, and this is coming from someone, we don't have any gripes or any reason to say this, but it is quite obvious that the government has a big role in the fact that it was all of this happened. They're trying to shift the blame and say that the that it all happened because the public's compliance shrank after they felt more safe, after there was a reduction in numbers a couple of months back, and that backfired. But the fact of the matter is that the government has continuously sent signals that the worst is over, how well India has dealt with the crisis. They have not interfered with big rallies, political rallies. In 3 of the states there were elections, and they not only didn't interfere, but they held huge rallies of their own, and their response is that they did not want to interfere. They could not interfere based on the constitution. They could not interfere with elections, which is a bullshit argument, because there's ways to have done this like this country has without interfering with the basic rights to for elections, and they've not done that. So they have failed their country on every level, and it's sad to see, and it's sad to see that they will probably get away with it because of the corruption in India. And that's, to me, that's just a real human tragedy. I think that their politicians should bear the consequences for it, and not be let get away with it. Markus, any thoughts?
The thing is, if you look at other countries, which are sitting on their vaccines, this also includes in part Germany, and think it would be enough, to vaccine their own population, and keeping other countries in second row could break our neck, because if we give this virus a chance to mutate or to develop, it won't stop at frontiers. So it's ridiculous, and and again, look how we are handling the corona crisis. Can we expect, and all the obstacles in Germany? We have a lot of conservative politicians from the CDU, from Angela Merkel's party, who were in obscure deals with mass producing companies, and they made profits on their own. They put the money in their own pockets, though they are not allowed to by restrictions because the office they have. Big scandals here, and it sees and it shows in every way, the greed, the money making within. We don't have the virus under control. I hope we can get it when it expands or develops or mutates like we're seeing in Brazil. It's getting more and more difficult, and as I said, by seeing how we are handling the corona crisis, does anyone really think we can handle the climate crisis, the climate catastrophe?
Well, we better. We have no choice. But that's the one thing that, in addition to everything, the problems in India is that there's a new strain that they encountered that apparently acts quite differently than the other strains. It bypasses the immune system. As a result, it also is not affected by the early signs are that it's not being affected completely by the vaccines, which I know none of us have the stomach to go into another wave of this, all from scratch, and wait for a booster, although the booster is supposed to be more readily developed because we already have the base vaccine. But nevertheless, to wait for the whole rollout of a new vaccine, I don't know who has the stomach for that, but that look appears at the moment to be coming down the pike, and that's bad news as well.
Yeah, it is. We will see where it goes. Hopefully, we can get the virus under control. Yeah, and we are going back to Germany, and Amos already teased it. This might be, to say it like this, the new Angela Merkel. This is Annalena Baerbock, and she is a Green politician. And in the past week, 2 weeks ago, she was elected to be the candidate in fall. You know, when we have our big elections, when it comes to see who's following up Angela Merkel in office. And the situation now in Germany is because of the handling of the coronavirus and the scandals around it, with ministers involved in the dubious mask deals, etc. The CDU, which once profited from Angela Merkel's reputation and is suffering. They're lost, I think, about more than 10% over the past month, or over the past half a year, about that. And it doesn't look good for them. They had also problems to find a candidate for the chancellorship themselves. It went over weeks. It was dirty. It was terrible to see, and it showed that everyone is only thinking of himself. The handling of the coronavirus was only secondary in this moment. It threw a very, very bad light on the Conservative Party. And on the other hand, the Green Party, they, without any noise, they came up with two candidates. The other one was Robert Habeck, and they agreed. They sat together and they agreed, okay, who is going to do this? And they came to the conclusion it would be best that Annalena Baerbock would be the candidate. And well, it went without any noise, no dirty laundry. It was perfect, and they are profiting from this very much, especially in the past 2 weeks, where you could see that they got gains from the conservatives, from the Social Democrats, and it was very impressive. And the latest poll says, you can show please slide 52. You can see that the Green Party is now the leading party with a very thin majority of 0%. But if the election was today, we can say we would have, for the first time in Germany, a Green Party Bundeschancellor. And if I look at the conservatives, the Social Democrats, the market liberals, or the Left Party, not to speak about the AfD, the right wingers, I think, yeah, it would be a good choice. I don't know if this would help to prevent the worst, but at least it would not be the CDU SPD coalition anymore. And if you look at Annalena Baerbock for what she stands, she is absolutely, she has a strong stance on foreign policy. She has a clear opinion on Russia, China, and the USA, which is very important. She has absolutely no experience in holding an office because she's only 40 years old. But I think the majority in Germany sees this as a chance, to get away from the same old we had for about 16 years of Angela Merkel in office. The people are tired, and they wanna feel a fresh air, and they also see that we cannot go on like we did, and they don't see that there are any serious ideas or plans coming from the other parties, and so more and more decide to try it with the Green Party. As I say, it is only a momentary thing what we are talking about. A lot of can change. You know how fast things can change. A lot can change within the coming month until end of September when we have the elections. But if you see, here is a survey, a poll from who wins the election 2021. It says in the corner. And there you see there is a likelihood of 59% that Annalena Baerbock from the Green Party would become the new Chancellor of Germany. You know, with all careful distance. You know, but this is I think it looks very, very good. You know, if you see the conservative candidate Armin Laschet, who is in his own party is harshly disputed. A lot of CDU voters wanted to have someone else, the Bavarian Minister President Söder, and they are very unhappy. And maybe this could bring a change, that we would have the first Green Chancellor here. And when it comes to the person of Annalena Baerbock, she is described to be very targeted on, very concentrated on targets. She knows her stuff. She is very, very. I don't know the word exactly. She is very into the details. She's very into the details of the things she is dealing with, and she has a quite good approach. She gave some interviews when the decision was made, and she has a very sympathetic note. You know, she has a very personal approach to people. She doesn't usually talk the politician speech, and she's trying to have a more direct approach to the people. And we will see where it leads, and I'll keep you informed. And maybe in fall we really have a surprise here in Germany.
And what about the BlackRock candidate, Markus? We've spoken about more.
Well, yeah, the BlackRock candidate, this was Friedrich Merz. Okay. 2 months ago there we had 3 candidates for the Conservative Party. These were 2 candidates. This was Armin Laschet, who is now the candidate. It was Markus Söder from Bavaria. And it was Friedrich Merz. Friedrich Merz, a former member of Angela Merkel's government, but she kicked him out more or less unfriendly because he did not walk along Angela Merkel's line, and she decided it was best to go separate ways. And he never forgot this. He's a very conservative thinking person, and his economy knowledge is mostly based in the 90s. You know, to privatize things, you know, to save money, etc. You know, things every other economist, meanwhile, had thrown overboard. You know, he sticks to this, and he has a very he's very attractive for the very conservative, a little bit right-wing oriented voter base of the CDU, but he completely failed when it came to the speeches where they had to present themselves, and he was voted out. And when he disappeared, suddenly there came more and more talks about Markus Söder, because he seems to manage the COVID crisis in Bavaria so perfectly, and he was on every TV and how he does things, etc. If you're looking in the details, you see that Bavaria is doing exactly the same shit as everyone else. You know, they have the same horrible COVID numbers as the other parts of Germany. But he is very conservative. He's an opportunist par excellence. He always has a good touch to what people want, you know, to the demand of people. And exactly this is what he echoes. But he has no backbone, you know. He goes with the wind, you know. And I'm personally happy that he's not the candidate, you know. I don't like Armin Laschet, and I don't like Markus Söder, but Söder would be the perfect opportunist in this thingy, always blaming the others. He he never does any mistakes. He's I don't like him. He's a despicable politician, in my opinion.
But Marcus, to me, that signals that in Germany, I think it's encouraging that the big money has not won their way in that regard, and they have to kind of play along and figure out how to make the best out of the situations that they find themselves in. So it's a difference between the US and Germany in that regard, and I think that's kind of a good thing.
It even goes further. The big companies here in Germany are more and more unhappy with the Conservative Party, with the CDU, with the Angela Merkel government, because they are seeing nothing is developing. They know they cannot keep the status quo. They cannot go the way they went. So meanwhile, there are a lot of big companies, CEOs, who are pushing, to the Green Party, that they are showing sympathy with the Green Party. Of course, they want to influence them, but there is not such an opposition against the Green Party as we would have seen this only 10 years ago, for maybe. More and more of the big leaders, of course, they are also fathers, and they have families, and they also get pressures from their children, etc. And it's a cultural change we are seeing here in Germany. And if you look at the BBC article, in the second passage, it says, but after 16 years of distinctively green tinged and Chancellor Merkel, she's phasing out nuclear and coal. Germany has changed. The mainstream is greener and the Green Party is more mainstream. So anti-green cliches seem dated and could insult voters. This was in context to another thing, but it shows that the society in Germany had really changed to a more greener mentality. In how far this would help us is another question, because as you say, to achieve this goal, the Green Party had to be more mainstream, and not to be as radical as they had been at the beginning. Yeah. And now we are coming to something which also happened last week. We talked a lot about racism in the US. We saw horrible things happening there. Charlottesville, many other things of right-wingers. And this incident happened in a tram here in Germany. I think it was last Thursday. There is a young I think it was, I'm not sure it was Berlin. I'm not sure anymore. Anyway, there is on the right, you can see the back of a young refugee, 17-year-old, coming from Syria, and there's a guy standing in front of him, and the translation doesn't meet in every point what he says. He is even more despicable, and if I gotta warn you, it is not nice to see, but it is also part of the reality we have here in Germany. Please run it.
Noch eine, du Dreckvieh. Hä? Fang an zu flennen, Junge, du Fotze, Junge. Du kommst hier an mein Land, Junge. Hä, du Fotze. Hä? Du kleines Dreckvieh. Verpiss dich einfach dahin, wo du herkommst, Junge, du verfrückte Fotze. Friss Scheiße, du Dreckvieh. Ruf nach deiner Mutter oder nach deinem Papa, Junge, du Fotze, Junge. Nee, mach ja nicht. Frag mich noch einmal, was ich von dir will, Junge. Mach einfach deinen Kopf runter, wenn ich das nächste Mal vor dir stehe, du Dreckvieh. Verstehst du das? Ja, mach einfach nächstes Mal deinen Schädel runter, du Fotze, Junge.
Yeah. He says, You are coming to my country. This is also my country, and I don't want to have those subjects in it. We don't know how many people were in that tram at that moment. We don't know who recorded it, if it was a man or a woman. At least he or she informed directly the police. This asshole got identified. He's in jail now. He's facing a lot of charges. He is also police known for some stuff. I don't know exactly if he has a history with racial stuff, but this is absolutely not tolerable.
Or other people, and you can hear at the end other people saying, and somebody, a female voice says, "Put away the camera."
Yes, exactly. There's a woman who is warning him that he should be aware of the camera, and she is as guilty as this guy. Yeah, and I have no words for such an inhumane, dumb behavior without any empathy, attacking a kid, a 17-year-old kid. And the kid is now at home, and he doesn't want to leave the room anymore. Understandable. Because of those assholes,
it's hard to watch.
I'm
sure we have people like that here as well.
I know. It is not an American problem. It is not. It is a problem of humanity.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. And
do we know anything about who this guy was?
He's identified. He is called Christian. We only know the first letter of his last name, B. Christian B. And he is in arrest now, and he was not set free. He was directly put in jail. There was no I don't know how do you call it if you put money to get someone free.
Bail.
Yeah. He had no chance to get bailed out. And I hope that there are a lot of people in this jail who know the story, and maybe in a dark corner. Well, I'm revengeful. I gotta admit this. I don't know how I would react if I was in this train. I don't think.
No excuse for this at all. Zero. But
no.
When these things happen, I kind of like to know what the story is. Is he unemployed? Does the wife leave him?
It is said that he has occasionally work. More is not because it is fresh. We will see what when it goes to court. We will get more information. But the police they're only giving the basic facts out at the moment.
Yeah, because a lot of these things are personal issues, and when you get somebody who's really unhappy in life, they got a lot of problems, and
I don't give a fuck for his problems.
Why don't
everyone?
Totally
everyone has problems. Everyone has problems.
Yeah.
Justify this
totally
attack. So in the end, yeah.
I just would like to know what triggers people. That's all. No sympathy for what he's done at all.
No, I know. Yeah.
I have to address something that Julie said in the chat, and that's she said fucking Israel and USA causing Syrians to flee into these dangerous situations. That's one situation where I don't think you can blame either one of these. It's a Syrian problem that created, unfortunately, where the US didn't act fast enough under Obama to turn this around. And we're seeing the consequences for that. It has very little to do with Israel and very little to do with the U.S. other than that.
It's always the fucking stupid governments, It's when we're talking about fucking Israel, fucking USA, we are not talking about the majority of people. We're talking about the governments.
Yeah, but even when it comes to the governments, the government of Israel has stayed out of Syrian affairs entirely. Maybe more so than I would have liked. I would have wanted them to support more of the
I mean,
rebels. But,
I mean, Israel in the other discussion when it comes about the Palestinians, it's the same. Well, it's a governance thing,
And
And
I can't forget about the Palestinians. They're
Yeah.
always there, and I think about them a lot.
yeah, I do too. But that's a different issue. I just
yeah,
wanted
it's
to
yeah. But in the
No,
end,
it's Israel, though. It's,
yeah.
you've got a conservatives in the government, and so who have no heart for them at all, and I think some pressure should be put on them for some decent treatment, and I don't see that as a separate issue. Palestinians and
Well,
Israel
it's a
are
separate issue to the
joined
Syrian refugee problem. That's all.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
definite.
sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
It's hard to
Yeah, after
transition
those-
from that to satire, but we got to move on.
yeah.
And
North Carolina body cam law. Yeah. Hide in your shell, huh? Transparency, openness, answers, truth, justice. What's your rush?
that's a cartoon from Kevin Sears.
Yeah. And the same topic for the worst visual effects, the transparency.
This is a good one.
Yeah,
ABS,
take it over.
5 to 6 liter V8 engine, microchips all over the place, fuel, satellite technology, navigation, cellular technology, blood pressure medication, and herbicides. And the guy that embraces all this technology says, "I don't trust vaccine science."
Yeah.
And here's another one on the same.
I love this one. This is great.
Go ahead.
Okay. I never built my house of bricks. We don't know anything about the bricks or their long-term side effects. Besides, I don't personally know anyone who's been eaten by a wolf.
Yeah. And I have to say, none of us knows the long side effects, but the likelihood of the long side effect matching the downsides of the dangers of
Bite of a
the
wolf.
disease is just bet wolf.
Yeah. Coming to the herd stupidity, which we are seeing a lot also in Germany. Everywhere, I guess. Yeah, and then we have the new Sisyphus, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He's rolling up the virus, and the virus will be rolling down again. This is exactly the lockdown situation we have here in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have anything to inoculate against humans?
Yeah. The world's asking. Here's the person at the bridge saying, "Do you have any volunteers to row harder as the ship is going over the edge of our global climate climate discussions?" In a nutshell.
Sad but true.
Yeah. And they don't even wear masks.
And here's a guy saying, "Climate change, ocean pollution, population extinction, forests, landfills, over consuming. We're so trashing this planet." And then the lady says, "Doing some cool stuff on Mars, though." Byrne says, "What's that, sarcasm or the lamest straw ever grasped?"
Yeah.
That's one by Joel Pett.
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
This cool stuff on Mars is, the stuff on Mars. I mean, we're just bringing our trash there. So how is that cool?
Yeah.
Well, eventually, yeah. Here's the Afghanistan never-ending Möbius strip, and Biden's opening a spot in the band.
And then Rudy Giuliani got unpleasant visitors. The FBI total landscaping. I like this one.
You think that he didn't wipe off all of that? I'd be surprised if he didn't like sanitize his computer way before they reached him. He's the prosecutor. He probably expected
Amos,
it.
I would not think this
I don't
because
know that.
he booked the total landscaping. He put silly spray hair on his head.
I think
He ran the
stupid enough
stupid
to-
stories about the conspiracy theories, about the insurrections. He might be so blown away with his minds already that he saved it, maybe to present it as a proof, maybe as that he was right in the end.
Yep.
He's completely crazy.
And here
I don't
is,
think anybody can keep ahead of that stuff. There's no way that you can. If you're up to something, they're going to find it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
best
hopefully.
not to be up to something.
Yeah.
You're going to get
And
caught.
his also his people that collaborate, his business partners are also right now in court. Parnas and that guy, and they're being prosecuted as we speak. One of them already turned against him prior to this, and I think that's going to be part of the indictment of Giuliani. I think he's going to face some hard times. But here is spoken to by the Lady Justice, still up for some trial by combat.
Oh, really? Yeah. And this one it is not really a joke, in my opinion, right?
Right.
I really believe that if the political leaders of the world could see their planet from a distance of, let's say, 100,000 miles, their outlook would be fundamentally changed. The all-important border would be invisible, that noisy argument suddenly silenced. Michael Collins.
Very true.
Yeah.
That's a nice thought.
Yeah. It's what everyone says who was once in space, Looking down on the planet makes it so vulnerable, and we are caring about frontiers and bullshit. Anyway. Yeah, the shadow of George Floyd. Justice.
But then on the other hand, one for me, what's the score?
Yeah. Wow.
So before we celebrate it too hard, that is the hard reality.
We can only celebrate this single case. Period.
Right. And here's the police saying, "I labeled my taser. Does that count as police reform?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Very sad.
It is. Guys, I have no uplifting music for you today. I did not find anything fitting, and I hope for next week I have something to go out with. I would like to thank you all for watching, for being with us, for your great discussions in chat. Jilly Love, don't be too upset. We are having discussion, We gotta endure different opinions, and yes, accept them. And well, saying this, I would like to thank Keith for being with us. I hope you would like to come back, and I would like to thank Amos. Maybe you can come back because I'm only seeing myself.
Well, if he speaks, Keith. Any last thoughts?
Want to see some last lines for the show, Keith?
Oh, just it's a great fun to be here. Love you guys, and keep up the good work. You covered some good stuff. I learned a little bit about what's going on in Germany with your environmental issues and your Green Party. That's something I'm interested in. So that's good. And till next week, I'll be back. I'll try to be anyway.
Cool.
Knock on wood.
We're looking forward to have you, Keith. Well, that's it for today. Amos, come back for the outgo. Yeah, there you are.
We don't have like an outro, so
yes,
we gotta be anticlimactic. I hope more of you guys join us here in the live chat in the future. Keith, don't leave the chat room till after.
Oh,
And
my story. I forgot about that. I got to post that link.
Yes,
so you guys
please,
can read
please.
My story.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yeah. This is just a link to my blog I've had forever. It's a place I rant at. And here we go.
yeah, so whoever wants to lose your shyness, join us here. And whether it's
There, it's in
you
YouTube.
disagree with something and you have discuss that, or you want to give your point of view on something, we're here. Also, please share if you like the show, like what we're doing on the show and the discussion and debates. Don't forget to post us on social media. That's how we gain viewerships and widen the circle. So till next week, I hope you guys will do well. I hope things will improve in India and around the world, and let's be hopeful.
Yes. Have a great weekend and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.